Live.
Ah, ah.
Ah. Is everybody in?
Is everybody in?
The ceremony is about to begin.
Are we in? You all in? I hope everybody's in. So I'll get on in here. Have a seat.
Sliding over here. Shout out to the Prohibition Show with Prohibition, Uncle Rick, and special guest Spartan Grown. Always a good time over there, and nice to hang out as like a pre-show sesh before we slide over here. Shout out to everybody that's in chat with us, hanging out. I still have volume I got to turn down, not to look like a rook.
It's you, not me.
It's me.
I gotta shut down my volume. Oh, the
Cheers, Astro Charlie.
Cheers, Astro. I'm gonna steal Becca's water here real fast.
So what's going on today, Becca?
Oh, I trimmed most of the day, nothing crazy.
Trimming most of the day sounds crazy to me.
I got to go visit Astro Charlie. Shout out to him.
Right on.
Real fast. Yeah, dude. He got some t-shirts made up for us. I'll have
You're gonna show one off?
Yeah. Let me
They
grab
look
one.
great.
They look great. Okay.
Super.
I like the last one.
They're
They're a
similar.
lot like the last one.
Okay.
There's a slight difference.
Do you have the mandala on it?
No. I'm not sure. When we're gonna do this. This is the back of the shirt.
There we go. Just like the top of the hash, man.
Back of the shirt. We've got front of the shirt.
The dog.
On the old shirt, the dog was over here facing the same direction, so his booty was in the middle. Booty facing the middle.
If you had a hoodie on.
If you had like a button up or a zip up or something, you'd see the dog's butt. But now if you have a zip up, see the dog's head. That's suggested by Astro. He also shrunk the dog ever so slightly. I wanted the dog slightly shrunk. This is a lighter
Summer weight. Yeah.
Yeah, the other ones are 100% cotton. I did that, mainly it was one of the ones, it was just easy to navigate their site, going 100% cotton, stuff like that. I was trying to do the all natural route. I wasn't a huge fan of the material when it came. I love this material. This is that nice, light.
It's like the MBGS shirts. Yeah.
Almost even like this dead shirt that I have on, but not quite. So it's
nice flex.
The tri-blend action. I think it's 50% cotton. So
right now.
Polyester in it. Some other
Cheers, Dr. Leave Me Alone. Cheers, High and Fly. It's what's going on this evening. Aldridge has already slid over from the Prohibition Show. Becky, I was really happy. One of my old buddies came over today, and he hasn't been over to the new place yet. So I was taking him for a walk around the yard, and we stopped back over, and my fucking plants blew up overnight. So
It was that rain.
it was that rain. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Our garden is so big. We have so many spaghetti squash, especially if you need a spaghetti squash, you let us know.
I will definitely be by for some.
Because we got one that's like a melon.
What?
Yeah, dude. The one that's on the ground is like dude, it's huge. It's like it has to be 18 inches plus right now. I mean,
Now, are those the Baker Creek seeds?
I don't think so. I think
The spaghetti squash, we bought some seeds this year.
not from Baker Creek though.
Okay.
I think we got those at a store, maybe a greenhouse.
Yeah, because we started eating spaghetti squash.
Aldridge says, "What is this rain you speak of?
What is the what?
What is this rain we speak of, bro? It's rained a little bit over the last couple weeks here. Enough so that I haven't had to really water my plants.
Oh, look at you. We had only had our
Did you turn the
little
sprinkler
storm.
off?
I did.
Okay.
Did you turn the sprinkler off? Nice reminder, right?
A rain, I suppose. Here's a nice little rain cloud pendant with an opal.
Oh, that's kind of rad. Yeah. Who's the artist on that?
This is Diligent Glass.
Diligent Glass on Instagram.
Name of the foragers find hand here.
That's pretty sweet. It's kind of like a frosted crystal look.
Yeah, it's a pendant.
It's like a bougie version of the screaming hand from the old skateboard days.
And yeah, like that.
I do. It's pretty sweet.
Such a nice job with that hand.
That one's cool.
One of my faves. This guy here. We have this sweet snail.
Mm-mm.
We're gonna have all these available this week at the 710 event at Genesee County Compassion Club up in Clio. Is it Clio? Flint or Clio?
Clio's close to Flint.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just a little rain cloud. I like these arts he does, man. He does some awesome stuff.
I just realized I didn't put my glass back on. I forgot to the shower.
Called Amanita.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Hold on, let me go grab it real quick.
He also does morels. So he sourced lots of these. Skilbo is off to go grab himself something to show us. We also got these dabbers. It's like a horn. Oh, this one's a pendant, actually. This is one of the pendants, but we also have these. This is a pendant / dabber. If you want to use your pendant as a dabber, but it's a dagger.
That's crazy.
Dabber. Yes, it is all glass. Oh, this one's cool. This is a pendy. This is an eye in a morel mushroom. I'm just going to keep showing you guys this collection here for a moment because I really dig some of this stuff. I'm sure you guys really will as well. Some of these ones are pretty big. They have like a moon drip scene. He did very awesome work with the moon and all the opal sets inside this stuff.
The drips are cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. Drips on those. And then this is a big old plant mushroom scenery thing that you got going on here. Big. Oh yeah, Skilbo got that on the deadlock. Tell us what you got there, Skilbo, in the sake of pendies.
So I've wanted one of these for a really long time. What it is a steely skull. And inside this one, it has little mushrooms in it. So I'm always a sucker for them.
I like that, Skilbo. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That artist did good work, man.
Cheers, Edward.
Just a simple little leaf. Yeah, dude, this is we're just gonna kick off with the pendant hour real fast. For all you
Pendant hour.
Slice
Oh,
of
yeah.
pie.
Slice pie, drippy pie. Yeah, so I hollered at this awesome Michigan glass artist. He is a Michigan glass artist. He was kind enough to hook me up with some work, and
Yeah.
we're gonna take some of that stuff on the road with us. We're also gonna have it available e-commerce style on our website.
Ooh, e-commerce
hoping-
stuff. Can
yeah,
you shout
well,
out the website, please?
redsetterfarm.com. So far, you
Super
can
easy.
you can find our link tree at our Instagram and kind of navigate a lot of other stuff through there. We need to kind of put some YouTube stuff on there, but the website, simple, redsetterfarm.com. You can get to a lot of our stuff most of the time, like our current menu, which will usually have what we have to offer at the events, at all the events that we do, and just, in real time, what we have to offer to our patients.
Strains available.
Yeah, strains, but pre-rolls.
So, like, what would be available right now if they were to look?
I think we have like Flow, Rainbow Driver,
Strawberries and cream.
I love strawberries and cream as dry sift.
Gorilla Bread.
That's my preferred way to.
Granddaddy
to-
Purple on there. We got
Okay.
Jelly.
grape jelly.
Jelly. Glee.
Gelée.
Gelée is about to come home. It's all cured up nicely.
Right on.
Yeah, so the website, and right now we don't have any of the glass stuff on there. One of the items being our hash
Hash
dome,
dome.
which is not in front of us. We had a nice little round with the hash dome, and I'll tell you what. How many people do we have? We have a dozen or more people.
Yeah, we had like 11 or 12 people there.
Yeah, and a nice little chunk of hash on there, and that thing passed.
It went around a couple of times.
It went around a couple times, and it was really cool watching that.
Did you send because we put those videos in the chat? Hopefully you're able to share those with the glass maker.
I don't know. I didn't get those videos out of chat.
I'll have to send it to you.
So we got these guys. We got these guys made. So we'll have these also at events, and we'll have these able to ship.
So
Can you pull
before
off the marble off the top, please? Just to show
before we
them.
can get them on the website, we have to like have an LLC.
Yep.
And get a tax number so that
A DBA, doing business as. Yeah.
So if we want to do credit card sales and stuff like that, if you guys want to inquire about any of this stuff and do some little friendly,
We can make it work out.
yep, hit me up in DM. You can
Right.
DM me and we can work some stuff out. But we also
But we're
have,
getting all that other stuff hopefully in the next couple days, honestly. So it'll be really easy for me to upload everything to the website and then kind of get going. So
Yeah.
That's in the plans for this next
Perfect.
couple weeks.
We can sell our CBD oil, seeds, all that other stuff that we have. People can actually order it from us and try to get some more seeds and stuff like that up on Stringly. But really, the main focus is just launching products on the website. So our CBD oil, we've already had a couple people reach out to us for some CBD oil. So if anybody's looking for that,
Are you going to do any mixing of like a 1-to-1 ratio of both THC oil and CBD oil?
At the moment, this CBD oil is just strictly because it's just made with isolate. That's what that is. As far as going with any THC oil-based products, that's going to be full spectrum RSO along with hemp RSO. So that's going to be a completely different thing. So 1-to-1s and any other ratios, if it has any other cannabinoids in it, it's going to come from full plant medicine. It's not just going to have 2 cannabinoids in it. It's going to be full spectrum. This is strictly CBD. This is for people who cannot have THC. This is for pets. This is for all kinds of other things. This is for people who want to dose high with CBD because their THC is, THC levels are too high. They need to come back down to the ground a little bit. This is just strictly for the isolate.
So along those lines, this week I was really happy because I have a capsule machine that I just got.
Kazoo.
So I bought the larger style capsules. I bought the 000s, which are like fucking horse capsules.
Yeah. Do you have any of those there? I want to see the size of those.
Let me go grab all this shit because I was ill prepared. So vamp for me.
Do it.
I'll take a dab.
Yeah, everybody dab time. I'm gonna roll one up here. Whoa. While we set the house on fire. We got some citric. It's gonna go in the joint. But yeah, the CBD tincture that we have right now, I guess it'd just be a CBD oil, right? It's MCT oil, no flavor, no taste. 1150 milligrams per 1 ounce bottle, so call them 1100. I got it tested, so real good source on the CBD. I was really happy with it. And then the RSO full spectrum, we got a nice little stash of some CBD flower from Dankovich, so we're gonna whip up into some RSO and also probably blend in some of our high THC. But honestly, I like to just keep them all separate because then I can do the mixing later on. We have our own high CBD cultivars out in the garden right now, hoping that we'll have at least a handful. We got about 12, and I'm guessing maybe 4 or 5 of them will be males. I'm hoping no more than 4 or 5 of them will be males. Hopefully only 2 of them will be males. And then we can harvest all of the medicine out of those and hopefully perpetuate that CBD. But we're hoping to get a whole bunch of CBD full spectrum strains. We're going to put some more seeds out, citric, Death Star, some of these other, I think, would be complementary to a high CBD strain as far as flavor profile goes.
Yeah, I feel like citric would be good.
The one that we have is very floral. It's called Green Room, and it's like Otto and AC/DC. And so this strain has 2 well-known high CBD cultivars. Are they already opened up, Scott? I don't want to make you open up your stash. Gelatin, not for the vegans.
They're fucking huge, bro.
Huge.
And I have something called a capsule machine here. I like this one because it's simple. I used to have a 100 site. My problem is I don't need to make 100 of these big motherfuckers at a time, right? So this allows me to make 18 of the 00 capsules really quickly, really easily. So all you got to do is you start off, okay? So you load 18 pills in here. The reason it's 18 instead of 24 is because these are 000s rather than 00s. So then I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape in my mushrooms into the capsules and then tamp them down with the little tamping piece that fits down in there. So you tamp it down, then you scrape more in there, refill it, tamp it down, keep doing it right until it's full. Then you load this side up with the other side of the capsule, and it drops in here just like that. Flip it over, press it down a couple of times. It snaps them on there, let it go, and there's your finished things. Have a bowl ready. Boop. But I figure, if I take one of these a day for the size that it is, for the size that I am, I can get, 18 done at a time. So I already have the large jar. Shout out to my oldest daughter. She sent me a whole bunch of pre-powdered mushrooms, and I'm really happy because I got some Wallengongs, which are my personal favorite ones. So yeah, man, I've been I've been doing a lot more microdosing and trying to do like intention focus and things like that lately.
What's the weight that you've noticed that those hold? How much?
These large ones, I haven't even tried. I literally just got them in the mail today.
Okay.
I know that I was using 0 capsules. And if I was filling those full, because I didn't have a machine or anything, and just keep tamping them in, I was getting 0.15s on those. So,
And was that like, what was the variation like? Is it like plus or minus a tenth of a gram, or plus or minus? Plus or minus like
the size of the difference in the capsules?
The size of the difference between each one you would fill up, because I have to imagine there's some sort of a you're tamping one harder than the other,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Packing more into one than the
other. The real way to do it would be to have you take your scale and you measure what one capsule weighs. Then once you do that, then you can fill those capsules and you can weigh those at the end, and you'll know what your weight is.
Yeah.
And if need be, if it was really, really far off one way or the other and it really bothered you, you could simply open the capsule back up and either add or subtract more of your mixture to it, and then just reseal it as a single. Cheers, Jeffro. Cheers, Uncle Rick. Thank you for letting us join you for a few minutes over on Prohibition. It's always good vibes over there. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. It's a good show over there this evening. Spartan Drones joining them. Catch those guys over on the Prohibition channel. They're in chat right now. Well, Let's Be Buds is in chat. I haven't seen Prohibition pop in yet, I don't think. Once he pops in, you'll know what to spell it. But it's Prohibition. Prohibition, but Prohibition.
Prohibition. Jeffro knows the Wollongongs are fucking great, man. If I had to describe them, my experience on them, I took a very large dosage of them and put my fucking AirPods in and listened to the best concert that I never went to. You know what I mean? Like, close my eyes, kick the chair back in the recliner, this pitch black darkness, jamming the fuck out and being able to like see the music. And it was really, really nice, man. It was like a very therapeutic.
Was it therapeutic because you could calm your mind, or because you could like have deep thoughts while you were listening to the music?
I almost want to say both of those things, but maybe more the second than the first. I've never really had a problem clearing my mind. What I do have a problem with a lot of times isn't that. It's that I just kind of shrug a lot of shit off, or I kind of minimize things and just sort of store them away until eventually it starts to, basically wear you down. So where psilocybin has always helped me is it's like reprogramming my true north, because it'll drift out a little bit. You know what I mean? Some things in life go one way, some things go the other way. And, that's why I've always been such a huge proponent and fan of psychedelics in the first place.
I always feel like it's one or the other. Like you're trying to just like calm everything, like your brain from talking so much, or you're trying to like really think about stuff and break stuff down to get to something.
I find that the first half tends to be the waiting for it to come on, treating it as though it is. I shared with you guys, there's a really, really good video that just came out. It's a very old talk, but it's Terrence McKenna and his wife, Kat, K-A-T. They're talking about how they basically use mushrooms. And, Terrence has always been one to talk about the whole 5 grams in total darkness, and just ask it what you want. Whereas his wife, they've tripped together several times, but she likes to go out to a cabin that they own in the woods for 2 or 3 days and just go with it. And I think, these days it's almost like the pendulum has swung back, where we really talk about microdosing more than we do macrodosing anymore. It's almost become like semi taboo to talk about, like a larger dosage. And, obviously the reasons would be that you don't want to forget to say that your mileage may vary. What is therapeutic for one person can be absolutely traumatic for another. So I think there's room for it, man.
That's why I don't even think people should talk about dosage in the terms of weight when they're talking about mushrooms or any of that stuff. Like, how much did you take? The amount that
How much do I weigh? You know what I mean? How much do you weigh? What is the
that's
actual amount
all
of psilocybin contained in the mushrooms that I consumed? And
you have absolutely no idea what your threshold is. So you have absolutely no idea what to kind of take until you try it, and then you kind of have an idea where your threshold is. And if you change that variety, you change your strain and it's more potent, your threshold changes.
Mhm.
So dosage can always change. And, sometimes it's like, oh man, I ate 5 grams. I didn't feel shit. Then you go, you're like, you think that that's what 5 grams is. So you go, you get a new batch of something fresh, something new. And you're like, well, I'll eat 8 grams, right? And then all of a sudden 8 grams is way too
You'll
much.
definitely know that you ate 8 grams, bro. Trust me. It's rather memorable.
Yeah, there's there's someone passes off some little
that-
phonies or
Well, that's the threshold. 8 hits, 8 grams. You know what I mean? That's substantial. You're really shooting for something if you're going to those levels. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with that. But, I think we would be remiss not to mention that there's still a lot of propaganda and stigma that has yet to be counterbalanced with science and further research now. I think going forward, we'll find that there are more ways to go.
I think the main one of the main attractions to microdosing is because regularly dosing something is what people are familiar with. People aren't familiar with having like a one-off session with even a therapist. It's usually like multiple sessions with a therapist. You have multiple, anytime you put on a prescription, it's regular, it's every single day, it's 3 times a day. It's, I think that it's a lot easier to say, take a tiny little dose 4 times a day, every day, or every 3rd day, or whatever, and stay on this regimen, than it is to say, take a high dose when and if you are able, because remember, set and setting is such a huge thing. With microdosing, set and setting is far more less a factor, because this is no, you have to remember what microdosing is.
Perceptual.
I hear people talk about microdosing, they're like, oh, I took such a big microdose, I was so high. You didn't take a microdose, you dosed, you had a dose. That wasn't a microdose. If you felt it, it wasn't a microdose. Stop tricking the language on the thing. It is what it is. It is a higher dose. You can say I took a higher dose. You don't have to be shy about it. You can say I didn't take a microdose that time. It wasn't a microdose. Because if
but that gets tricky when you have a tolerance.
It muddles the waters when we're trying to have a conversation, though. It muddles the waters when everybody's trying to understand what the microdose language is, because you shouldn't be having set and setting issues on microdoses. Microdose should allow you to get more comfortable in certain settings and situations. Typically, those settings and situations that you have more anxiety or you are more uncomfortable in, a microdose is what helps you balance into those and ease your way in. If you have too much and you can't go back, you can't go into those certain situations because social complex or whatever's going on within your higher dose level. So I think that while I am I'm a proponent of a higher dose therapy session or higher dose session, I don't think that high dose reality is where you can stay every single day.
Oh,
Or
no,
even once a
no,
week or even once a month, right?
no. I
That
used to try to make sure that I waited, if I did a larger dose of like 5 grams or more. In the beginning, it was really easy because it was fucking hard as shit to find them. So, like, if you could find them in back-to-back months, you were doing pretty good. But I found that I needed that time in between. If it's a month or 6 months or whatever, it's not that I'm like absolutely absorbed with thinking about it all the time, but I do like to digest things, and I like to really take the thoughts that I had from that, or the epiphanies or the realizations, and then try to make those minor fucking adjustments that I needed to get back to where I needed to. And then, a lot of times I didn't feel the need to dive right back in. I've never done mushrooms and then said, oh my God, I want to do these again today. And I want to do them again tomorrow. And I want to do them again. Like that seems a bit, that's not my preferred method to do things.
now
With a
where
microdose, I could.
where I think microdosing, right, comes into play is that's for regular usage.
Maintenance. Yeah.
That's for whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or daily maintenance, right? And now what we're learning is, remember the old words, neuroplasticity, neuroregenesis. That's not going to come from one single high dose session. That's going to come from repetitive use of every day or every other day in combination with this. You're supplementing. You're supplementing to regrow. You're repairing. So this isn't going to happen with one big dose. So I think that that's where all of the hubbub is about and over microdosing. I think that it can be considered taboo still, the high dose. I think that because of so many people have talked about their experiences with like
Yes.
going down and having like ayahuasca sessions and how beneficial that single, I think that it is still looked at as a medicine, as a beneficial medicine. A high dose is still looked at beneficial. I don't think that it's as taboo as it was, but nonetheless, you're on the right track and still
Yeah.
saying that talking about high dose sessions can be taboo. And I have these conversations with my parents, for example. My mom, she doesn't want me having high dose sessions or understanding.
I've never really spoken about my psychedelic usage with my fucking mom because she would flip out on me. I finally got her after all these years, when I first started growing and stuff. She was really, really scared for me. Oh, they're gonna kick your door down. No, they're not gonna kick my door down, Mom. I'm good. Trust me. But Mama Skilbo is a worry wart. But then I think to myself, it's very hard to explain to someone else how microdosing has helped you, because they don't really think in those terms. Like, first of all, anxiety, even though it's quote unquote abnormal, is normal. But a lot of people don't know what anxiety can be like. And then those that do, a lot of times the prescribed direction or protocol that they've been given is to use pharmaceuticals. Okay. So then they have their own baggage that they're bringing to the table on how that gets treated. So I don't know, man. I really think that it's something that you should look into for yourself. Cheers, Raptor. And I see Raptor's comment. I really like that. I did a large dose on New Year's and haven't needed the same amount since. Been microdosing 3 times a week since then, though. Cheers, Raptor. Always good to see you, man.
I just told my mom, or she asked me if I had tried LSD, and I just talked to her about it because she knew I had used mushrooms and tried them and that they were helpful, but I still haven't told her, that I'm not taking any of those medicines. It's almost been a full year.
But the proof is in the pudding. Is how do you feel? Almost completely different.
Yeah, so clear and like myself.
Free. Say free. Say free.
Surely free.
Freedom.
I don't know how to describe it. I definitely
see what I'm saying is, like, how do you talk to somebody about the benefits of this? You can just tell them and say, hey, look, there's been a lot of studies by a lot of real colleges, schools. But I think that part of it too is that, okay, the human mind is a very, very adaptable thing. But at the same time, just in the span of our lifetimes, things have accelerated so much that there is a plethora of different things that you can be absorbed by or sucked into, be it television or movie or music or social media or food or whatever the fuck it is, man. And I think that this is where meditation can really go hand in hand with psychedelics usage. Now, I'm not here to try to proselytize to anybody or convince you that one way of meditating is any better or different than the other one. I think it really comes down to what method you're able to do that you find gives you that sense of like space between thoughts.
And let's talk about that high dose scenario, because sometimes you have no other choice but to sit there and like quiet yourself, because you can't.
Yeah, man.
You have to sit back and shut up. Words won't,
No.
flow, right? And your mind has to scream at you, and you have to like listen to like this like super.
I never get that anymore. I think here's a weird one. Maybe I don't experience those things because I've fucked with this shit for so many years that to me,
you found your peace now. You know where
yeah,
your corners exist and where all that stuff lies and where you need to channel out of that stuff. That's the other bit of it. I get anxiety and stuff. Most people don't understand that when you have a shouting match with a friend or a shouting match with somebody on the road or something, and all of a sudden you're seeing red and all that was a panic attack. Most people don't understand what panic attacks are. When you lose your shit for like 5-10 minutes and you like have a freak out, that's a panic attack. That's not a freak out. That's not a losing your shit. That's what those are. It's a panic attack. And some people have it more than others. And some people after that, like their adrenaline's so high, they do irrational things, like all kinds of stuff happens from that. I've noticed that my sense of anxiety or calm, I notice it like in my breathing. I'll notice it in my hypochondria. Okay. Like I
has gone way down.
I have this sense of like everything's wrong with me.
I love you.
I like tried taking a little tea break for a few days, and all of a sudden, dude, I bumped my head like 16 times in the last week. But I have this,
BCTE kid,
this bruise on my head, and it's tender, and I'm like, I don't remember bumping my head over here. So the last few days, I'm like, fuck, I got this bump on my head. What is it? I don't know what it is. So I'm freaking out, and then it's like, wait a minute. Back on the microdose, I don't even care. I don't even worry about it. It's like it, if it's actually something's wrong with it, give it a couple weeks. Or something wrong with it, you don't know until you go figure it out and get it checked out. So
you know what I haven't had luck with, or I haven't had
things easier.
I haven't had the courage to do yet. Is I suffer from migraines, and sometimes it can be 2 or 3 times a week that I'll have like a massive headache, and I have to just like cash out. Like, okay, I'm good. Fuck this, I can't deal with it. And I know that I have read that they have tried using psilocybin for cluster headaches. But now I'm like, do I need to Google cluster headaches and see if it only works for that, or would it work for mine? Because then I think to myself, okay, so then what kind of dosage would I need to do for that? So I think to myself, well, maybe like a gram or 2. Okay, this is just internal. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to do like this much. And then I think to myself, well, what if instead of treating it, what if it actually gives me like a panic attack? So then I'm worried, like, ooh, do I really? I'm already dealing with one major issue right now, which is this fucking migraine. Do I want to add another, couple of logs on that fire of, anxiety?
Well, that's what I was talking about with high dose. Like if you're betting on high dose therapy, you may never get your high dose because of life events and stuff like that that's going on. Worried about a freak out, whatever. Like right now, sometimes there's too much stuff going on that I can't do a high dose. Sometimes it's medical like that. If I have like a weird headache going on, or like the
Have
shit.
you tried it for headaches? Yeah.
What's that?
Have you tried them for headaches?
I've tried them for headaches. Honestly, my headache symptom, like I used to have regular migraines, headaches all the time. I did change my diet a lot, but I have gotten back into eating a lot more meat. I eat a lot more meat. I eat a lot more bread, I eat dairy products and stuff like that now. A lot of stuff that a couple years ago I wasn't eating because of headaches and things like that. I was trying to change my diet. But honestly, the regular microdosing, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I don't get headaches as often. And when I do get headaches, you know what I mean? I have to take an ibuprofen or something. They get pretty bad. A lot of times I do, like I've had too much sugar or something like that. I'll compare it to my diet. You know what I mean? And it'll be too much sugar. So
Cheers, madam. Anecdotally, what I would say is I've dealt with depression. It's not like a new kind of thing. It's always kind of been there. But I find that since I've really been trying to be more rigorous in my observation of microdosing rather than just like when I remember to, I'm finding that the depression volume knob is turned down, but there's kind of a cool thing that goes with it. Let's use like sound for this. So like if you're thinking of like your internal thoughts and shit, what happened is there would be like this reverb on it afterwards. So you would have like the depressive thought, and then there would be like this massive reverb relay on it that it just keeps going out as like one solid note and carries on. And what I found with microdosing is that those thoughts aren't necessarily absent, but they're just like, boop, thought gone, moving on, rather than trying to try to push everything away and try to meditate in the point of like, you're not supposed to have any thoughts. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking and I'm doing this so wrong and I'm never going to be able to meditate. And so you have all of this kind of silly internal dialogue going on, which is just, it can be very, very challenging for you to be able to see that through. It always do.
I made myself, I had to sit down and kick it with the OJ here for a minute the other day. I almost got a little faint sitting here overstimulating thought. You know what I
Cheers,
mean?
DP.
Thinking myself into a corner, it's
the older I get, the more I'm able to realize how many times I have used something as a way to self-medicate. And I think that the internal dialogue thing, it's like a make it or break it for some people, because you can let that shit absolutely rule you.
It's true.
It's shitty.
It's rough. It's completely subconscious sometimes. Sometimes it's so uncontrollable. But that's what I mean. Like, if I'm within 24 hours of a microdose, I don't know what it does. And I'm talking sub-threshold, just having the substance, whatever it might.
You know what I do, dude? I jump into this fucking jar right here and I grab one of these interesting fucking caps and I'm like, let me just weigh this real quick and see what it is. And it'll usually come in, I'm being honest, it'll usually come in under a gram, but I don't do it every day. But I find that if I wake up in the morning and I'm just not feeling it, I'm just feeling frustrated, I'm feeling a little bit fucking prickly or snarky or something like that, those are the days that I go ahead and grab one of those and just like, okay, chill the fuck out. Everything's gonna be fucking everything, because everything's the same shit that it's always been.
That's something, it's a hard thing to like realize that you have to like snap out of it.
Yeah.
Because you're in a certain place. And
you know what? It's coming down to this is like acceptance. You've got to fucking accept shit as it is right now. You just have to, because what are you going to do?
There's a fine line sometimes for me where I'll have that like, oop, that's too much of a dose. And then whatever little thing that
What
was,
makes you determine that it's too much of a dose? Is it that it speeds you up, or is
no,
it
it's the thought. It's where my thoughts are. Like if I'm
okay?
if the noise, if the chatter increases, I know I've had too much of a dose. A lot of times, setting, a lot of times the chatter will increase if like I'm alone or something like that, and like or like she's not around or there's not a lot to do. If there's not a lot of stimulation going around, like if I'm just trying to like maybe chill or sit and
Dude,
enjoy it.
you just gave me a huge flashback. Um,
Too much
I
thought.
used
But then again, I also don't get over that hump of enough of the substance to have that serotonin hit to where everything's okay.
and you're aware of that.
I'm in that like purgatory of I've taken enough to feel it. There's a little bit of something visually in the air. There's no visuals, but it's there. It's like, ooh, everything's bright and twinkly and like slight wallow with the breathing. I might, get a little stumbly with my walking or something.
So you know what I think?
That's when my thought will really start to like trail, and I can get to like either dark places or very, very good places. Most of the time it's very good places. There's like if something's going on, for example, if I'm having one of my like, chest things going on in my
Chest tightenings,
ribs,
yeah.
or like my neck's messed up, and like what'll happen is I have this pain that'll radiate in my ribs, and I'll get like, yeah, so like I'll start thinking, oh shit, and I'll start doing pulse checks, stupid shit
So
like that.
we do have a point in chat. Shout out to JMB. I do want to answer this. He says, I would like to try microdosing, but I have to operate heavy machinery at my job right now. The beauty of this, JMB, is that you can take your microdose after work if you want to. It doesn't really matter what time of day you take this. And secondly, this is also a sub-perceptible level. So it's not like you shouldn't be feeling any kind of issues whatsoever. Now, you may have to dabble with that on your days off and try to have several different weights out. Maybe start off at like 0.10, 0.15. And then go from there. Don't drift too much higher off in that in the beginning to start. And then it's going to be a matter of trying to see how it works for you. And something that you could really do if you want to be your own scientist, right? Your own researcher. Because really that's what psychedelics are, is you just sign on to become your own researcher. Is you can start by, just opening a note on your phone and typing some things out in there. What are some of the issues that I'm experiencing right now that I'm hoping that I can find some relief from or be able to get some different skills with? What am I really, really wanting? What am I really scared of? And then by doing those, you can sometimes go back to those before you take these, and you can use it as a way to set your attention. Because that's one thing that I've usually done with speaking on the higher doses is I haven't allowed them to distract me. Because I think what Red was saying earlier about, things are starting to twinkle and we're starting to get the sound effects and things. It's fine if you want to stay there. And if you want to be dazzled by glamours, is cool. You know what I mean? That's a fun thing in itself. But at the same time, if you want to do the work, and if you do want to try to peel back a couple of layers on some things and maybe think about the shit that you were trying to address when you came into this, that's where the growth happens. I'm pretty much the same person I've always been, but I've become a lot more self-aware and a lot more understanding of like how, if I have unrealistic expectations on how things or people should be, then those are going to be my problems because they're not in alignment with reality. So that's my little 2 cents. I do want to give a huge shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you as always for joining us and hanging out. If you haven't given the show a thumbs up by this point, this is a little different conversation. We'd appreciate that. And at the same time, make sure that you are in live rather than top chat. Lastly, if you have any questions, toss them in chat and we'll kick them around.
Yeah, I've found my peace with the entheogens. You know, I think I've found where they used to exist to me, and there was that point where I didn't have, where, like, you know, I've had some bad trips where I knew I just took too much of something, or just was in a bad setting experience. And then I had those experiences where I took a high dose and I was in this great place, and I just never, I didn't want it to end. Like, you couldn't have given me enough. Like,
that's L. That's L for me.
Yeah. Like, I just wanted to, like, you know, just dump a whole vial. You know, if I could, you know, it probably would have happened. It was like that type of place. Just like, stay here for a little while. There's
you want to be Mr. 10 strip.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you understand your tolerance level, it's like, if you start with 10, an hour later, if you're trying to bump up, you need 10 to bump. If you need more, you need 20.
If you took 10, you don't need 10 more. Trust me, my friends, you don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no.
I took fucking 8 and it was substantial.
Don't take my words for this is how you party. This is
this is how we get down, right?
This is like talking about, like, having an extreme tolerance. That can just get incredibly expensive. Fortunately, with mushrooms, you can grow your own, right? That's kind of where I wanted to talk about Becca when she was saying that she felt a little free. I was kind of alluding to her to say free. From the plant medicines, giving her a sense of freedom. You know, we just kind of had our Independence Day, and I've been watching, you know, a lot of YouTube, as I always do, and there's just a lot of negativity, you know, towards the lack of independence that we have right now, or negativity because of the lack of independence. You know, all of the sick ironies that are kind of occurring in the name of independence, in the name of freedom, you know. So for our own well-being, you know, one of the things that we can kind of do for ourselves,
don't let anybody else legislate your consciousness,
for our own freedom, is food and medicine sovereignty. I think are a couple of the most important things. It's difficult to, you know, have land sovereignty and stuff. You know, you have to pay taxes, at least if you own through a government entity or something of some sort. You know, we can be free with solar, and you can go off grid, and we can do a lot of things. Not all of us can get that far. A lot of us live in urban environments, and it's very difficult to, like, be free from the grid and stuff like that. But some things that we really can be free is our health. And that's our longevity right there, you know. I think that, you know, with being able to utilize natural, well, I don't want to take the words out of context, but being able to utilize, you know, fungi medicines or entheogenic.
Can I hold one up?
Cannabis. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
So this right here, this little teeny one.
Did you weigh that?
Yes, I did. I just weighed this, and it is 0.08.
Okay, that is, I was going to actually go back. Yeah, thank you. Go back to microdose. I would suggest more like that dose, like 0.07
Cheers, everyone.
To 0.08. 0.07 to 0.08. That's roughly 70 to 80 milligrams, right? Your threshold might be 50 milligrams. So they might actually catch a feeling off of that. And Aldridge did ask, you know, is this a mood enhancing dose? Sure.
Hooked on a feeling.
Hey, you can mood enhance.
Come on, baby.
You probably shouldn't have visuals, or you probably shouldn't have feel like you're gonna stumble or anything like that.
Well,
a little pep in your step.
You might.
Yeah, man. Well, so my thing is
organized all of a sudden.
I intend to take a larger dose after the show is over. So this was just like kind of warming the car up first in the driveway before you jump in it and go big with it. But yeah, I mean,
And you can always do that too, Skilbo, is after about an hour, up your dose.
Mhm.
Understand that the mushroom's similar to cannabis. It's going to take about an hour to metabolize. For me, it's like 45 minutes to an hour. With L25, the specific batch I have, it's exactly 1 hour and 30 minutes, almost to the moment 90 minutes.
Mhm.
And I mean, if I boost my dose with the L25, 90 minutes later, oh, there it is. I can almost tell you what time it is based
Wow.
on me feeling my dose popping on. I'm like, oh,
Must have
it
been.
must be this, it must be 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Because it's feel
Hey.
it coming on. And there we are.
I do want to talk about high and fly too. Says never microdosed, only high doses. I'd like to try it, but I don't have the supply anymore. Here's the thing: if we do some quick math, let's say that you are able to get your hands on an eighth, because that's typically the most common way you're going to get them, or in the 2 grams. How many microdoses is that?
Wow.
So that's like 7. What would it be? 7, 21, 21. 21 to 28, so you could almost get that and get away with it for the whole month, especially realizing that you don't take them 7 days a week. You would only take them. I like the 4 on 3 off is what I've kind of been trying myself, not for any reason that I can say. I just want to try this schedule of dosaging first, and then eventually I'll try the other. Cheers, She Grows the Dank and Sacred Garden.
If you have an eighth and you do 70 milligrams off an eighth, you get 50.
Oh, there you go.
50.
So,
0.07.
0.07.
0.07, which was that little teeny mushroom. Now you can also, I mean, I've got some fucking really big monster blue ones here and shit, but those kind of suck because I hate it when they are the super gnarly huge ones. I know those are like bag appeal and shit, but those tend to be the most fibrous ones. They take the longest to chew up if you're just doing the au naturel way, rather than grinding them and popping them in some kind of capsule.
I've learned to just kind of muddle them, let them kind of just turn to
Muddle them in your mouth.
That's why I took that sip of pop, bro.
I just kind of like, I'll like put it,
Yeah.
I'll like just kind of dash it.
I'm not cool with the flavor.
Somewhere or between my cheek and my gums somewhere. I'll just kind of stash it and it'll just get
Are
real.
you a squirrel?
Kind of. I guess if that's how, if this is the squirrel tech, I do a little squirrel tech.
Squirrel tech.
Just stash it.
You heard it here first.
And let it get nice and soggy, and I just swallow it. I don't really chew it too much because it gets all stuck in all of your
yeah, dude.
Every little crevice of your
that
teeth.
Was always the thing for me on a large dose. Let me tell y'all something. Go ahead and weigh out fucking a quarter of shrooms and look at it and then say, okay, I'm going to eat all of this so that I can have this dose. You are going to be mad. You're going to be looking for a grinder or something, bro.
You might as well just brew out tea.
So much.
That's why I like to use animal crackers.
Make a smoothie.
Well, you know, here's the thing is that extra chitin, that's what always gives you, like on a mushroom come up, you'll get like that one belch and like, oh man, I get this like I fucking hate this, dude. And here's the thing. If a cube is a cube is a cube, a shroom is a shroom is a shroom in the sense of like they all taste the same fucking way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I guess that's why you could.
But I can eat regular fresh mushrooms and shit.
You could hope to source fresh, and you could hope to source for something more potent, so you don't have to take as much, right? You can lower the amount because if you take, we're talking about an eighth. Man, we were talking about an eighth of like maybe golden teachers, but if we're going to talk about an eighth of let's say Wallengongs, maybe we can cut this dose down to 0.05 and just take 50 milligrams.
0.05.
Yeah, we're talking about a beginner or somebody who's just starting out. Just a little nibble just to test.
Now let's talk about this then. So we've talked somebody in the chat into this parenthetically. Okay, so they're like, okay, fellas and Becca, tell me what I need to do next. So I've got these 50 dosage and I'm going to try doing this 4 days on and 3 days off. I'm going to keep this like this notes journal thing for myself because I'm really trying to work through this. I'm trying to record my experiences. If you go through all of this at the end, and let's say you did it at 0.05 and you say, well, the evidence is inconclusive. I don't really notice any difference. I would say if you did that, maybe you want to do a little further research. I know it's a little bit more work, but we still have the same intentions, right? So let's up that dosage then. Okay. So let's double that dosage until we get to a point where we do our, let's say we do it for a month, right? So at the end of that, go back to your notes and see if there's really any difference between your experiences before you started this, your first experience under the 0.05, and then your next experience at 0.01. Like you doubled the dose on that.
It is good to take a day off here and there, 2 days off.
And some days to have a higher dose.
Yeah, well, because it's tolerance.
Remember Miss Vicious, guys? She
oh yeah.
On her page, she once showed her schedule, and she would schedule in, every 2 weeks or every month, a little bit higher of a dose to get more of the therapeutic help. Like,
yeah, I like that, man.
You have to do more than just, take something every day. You have to put in a little bit of work too.
I like that. I do like that. We tend to have a little higher dose every so about once or twice a week.
So Raptor's talking about doing it with a ginger tea. Also there is the lemon tech. I did that before when I was I only had 2 grams and I wanted to get like something out of it. So I was like, well, I'll just go to my pals over at arrowid.com and look up, talking about how I can intensify this. So using the fresh lemon juice, I was able to dose those. And it was kind of a different experience because the come up was only 20 minutes, but the experience was only 2 hours. But I felt like it was a way to basically fill in the gaps and get what I wanted to out of it. Cheers, Gunness to the moon.
Trying to avoid stomach issues, and you are using citrus, make sure you're avoiding dairy. Citrus, dairy,
don't mix all that. Yeah.
Curdle in your gut, and they'll give you a gut ache. And,
cottage cheese.
I do want to talk about a paradox, though, since we're talking about the
Fermi's paradox.
Fermenting paradox. Yeah, the gut health, the gut biome. Because you would think that with 50 micrograms of a substance, right? 50 millowhatevers, or 500 millowhatevers, that you wouldn't have any chitin, especially from something that I'm saying L25. Let's say 50 micrograms, 100 micrograms. Let me ask you, Skilbo, since you definitely
dabbled
the higher echelon, did you have any upset stomach issues with?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, there we go. All right, so
yeah,
now it's not a fungus. It's more of an isolated compound. There shouldn't be any chitin left in there. This should be only isolated L25. Roughly, we'll call it 90% purity, maybe.
Okay.
There shouldn't be anything in there except maybe like arsenic or some random shit that they usually say is left over in through the byproduct, the breakdown of that. Which there's arsenic in like everything anyway.
Arsenic and lace.
Yeah, and so if that's even what it is, it might even be some other compound that's in there. So what in my what you want this? Yeah. I'm sorry. Here you
go. Do you want this? Here.
What I've heard is that stomach ache. So how much of the mushroom stomach ache is actually the chitin?
I think most of it.
Well, that's why I want to compare it to the L25 stomach ache, because you still get a stomach ache with L25, but there's no chitin. So what I'm getting at is I think that the stomach ache is not coming from.
I think it's the serotonin or something.
Serotonin, right? Okay. Because
I'm smart. I figured it out.
What we've learned in more modern years recently is that more of our serotonin resides in our gut than it does in our central nervous system throughout our brain and stuff like that.
Ooh, Red, you're making us sound smart right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that a lot of the stomach ache stuff has more to do with the serotonin. So I think that you can try to extract as much of the psilocybin, and even if you took synthesized psilocybin, I think that it's still going to upset your stomach. I still think that you're going to get that. I
Well, you
don't
know
know if it's
what
necessarily bubble gutty, but it's like a weird. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like
my
cramp.
next piece
Yeah, kind
of
of
tech that I
crampy.
want to pick up is I want to get one of those like ultrasonic cleaner things, and I want to do an actual mushroom tincture. So we've talked about it in the past before, and I want to do the alcohol first with the water second, and then recombine the two into making a tincture. And I'm wondering if through that extraction process, I'll be able to leave all that chitin behind. Give a shout out to Yeti Stash and Endless Summer. Got to hang out with them, and we rode to the kart racing place with them. And he passed back this bottle of these mushroom gummies, and they were fucking great,
They were
man.
tasty. Those were 50 milligram. Those were 0.05s, and they kind of had a little marshmallow texture to them. They kind of melted in my mouth like a marshmallow does. If you can think of that kind of like aerates, splits apart type of a thing. That's kind of how I
Right.
got out of it. It definitely had like a sugar coating, and it was
I had
tasty, man. I liked it.
4.
You had four
Had
of
a
them, okay.
handful.
And then
Yeah,
you
to
were
add
puking all
to
over the
the
yard and puking on
cookie.
the car.
That was
Yeah,
I didn't
it
have
was a
until
good
after,
time. It was a
though,
good time.
that
Right.
was to
when we were
that was to
home.
add to the event. Oh, the gummies. You had the gummies at the party, right?
I when we
The
got
early on they came around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That was a really, really good birthday party. Shout out to Sequence and Paint Lady for having such a beautiful home and having us all over some
I
really
love her
kick-ass food.
house.
Dude, isn't it
Like a
fantastic?
little like cottage cabiny.
It's perfect.
Like the
And,
back.
and I finally got to meet the real star of the late sash. We got to meet Babe and pet her. She's cool as shit.
Cute
So
cat.
hell yeah. Because that's the first time that we've all hung out since like the U of M game when we basically beat the living daylights out of the Buckeyes and poor
I-
Troy.
We weren't there for that. The last time
Oh, okay. So
probably Clio. I don't know. It might even have been Clio since last time we hung out.
fucking loser.
Loser.
Something.
Yeah.
Turn. Lyle was after.
Been the
I feel
better
like
part
I
of the
see you
year.
guys all the time.
Skilbo didn't.
That's
Oh,
be
you went to Clio, didn't you? Didn't come to
Yeah.
Clio, did you? Did you come out to Clio? You came out to Clio.
which one?
You came out
Which
to
of the fucking 20 times that we've been at Clio are we speaking?
Clio. Oh yeah,
Oh
Clio.
yeah.
The one that
Clio
we've ended
cultivation.
at.
Clio cultivate. No, not Clio cultivation.
No, it was the Croptoberfest.
It was Croptoberfest. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Oh, I should probably mention since he did go public with it, Spread the Spores has been Inspiration has been canceled. We will not be at
Yeah. That's you know what though? I really liked his post. And I, for one, am really want to give him a genuine shout out
Absolutely.
for being able to be the conduit kind of thing to help community build in these early stages for mycology and stuff. I really, show him a lot of love. Go back, catch the episode that he did with us on Behind the Veil here. Super nice guy. So I'm just looking forward to, what's going to be coming up in the future.
Yeah, and I know he'll come back swinging, and
Yeah.
it's I'll let him tell everybody his own personal story and whatever's going on with him. But I like where he's coming from in the fact that he's honestly saying that he can't promote positivity if he's not somewhere in that same space. So, hey man, he's already promoting positivity. His page on Spores is all about positivity always,
and at the same time, you have to know when you need to do the self-care. You can't just always put it off till tomorrow, man. Because that just keeps eroding you further and further and further, and it makes rising up again harder and harder. So by checking out for a little while, putting a little distance in between things and stuff, that's not always a bad thing.
No.
It's better to do that than it is to stay in the situation and now you get to the point, it's kind of like a job. You don't want this to become like a job. This is a passion.
When I went through my shit, man, I wasn't
Yeah. You
I
pulled
wasn't
back.
running my crops. I wasn't
Yeah.
trimming my totes. I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything. I was resting. I
Mhm.
was finding my peace. I was doing a lot of things other than what I was supposed to be doing. And then I got back to doing the things that I needed to be doing. But like, it was there was a time to like heal and mend, and like without that like time of like calm, of like really just focusing on myself, like doing like juggling, like just sitting
Yeah.
around and like playing with the damn juggle sticks for I don't know, man, 6 hours on end, and listening to like the Dead and Billy Strings and stuff like that with nothing, nobody around. You know what I mean?
Except the OG.
Except the OG,
Yeah.
and just like finding your peace.
See, man. See, now you're singing my song. That's what I do all day. I mean, I literally fucking hang out here at the house, and it's me and the fucking birds and the wind chimes and a big fucking sack of weed and a strong cup of coffee, and I didn't realize how much like just inherent stress that I had, just from living in the city and then by moving out here and stuff. Um, it's a very nice sense of calm and going back to that acceptance thing again. Just, like, hey, everything's cool. Everything's gonna be cool. You're just a person that is experiencing a few chemical reactions right now. They're temporary, they're gonna pass, and everything's gonna be groovy. Also, you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't bring up our co-host on here, Abolished. Abolished has had a hell of a year. And, especially us on Polarity Science here, we have really talked at length a lot outside of these shows. And that's what he's done, is he pulled back and he had to figure some things out for himself. And, he's doing better now than he was a year ago. And I think that's all you really want for yourself and your friends and your family and the people you care about, is just keep trying your best, keep moving forward, keep trying to make the right decisions, man. And smoke weed along the way.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I see so many people just, talking about self-care. And it really is very important. If you see somewhere that you want to stop, you see a little pond on the side of the road,
Dude,
stop,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Stop. And you want to stop, just stop. You just go check it out for a minute. Take 5. Just take 5. Some other things can wait sometimes, especially if you don't have a real appointment,
Take the long way home.
You take the long way home. I agree.
I love driving along the river and along Lake Huron on the way home. Yeah, fuck yeah.
I'll go 2 over the speed limit instead of 10 over the speed limit.
It's Michigan, bro. It's always 10 over.
Piss people off, man. I gotta drive 5 over, or else you start getting ran over on some of these highways.
It's 80 or not.
Yeah, dude.
Unless you're on 696, then it's probably 85.
And there's just so much beauty around. There's a lot of like, so what I was getting at earlier with like there tends to be a lot of like negativity. There really is. It's everywhere.
It's all out there, and it's kind of like this, man. You can go out there and you can wear some like static cling shit, and you can pull all that negative to you if you want to. Or you can use psychedelics, which kind of serves as a way of a virtual fabric softener sheet that you can use as protection to make sure that none of that icky shit stinks.
And I'm not unaware. I watch the news. I follow what's going on. I'm not a underground hippie, that's so far out that I'm not off grid that I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm very aware in everything that's going on to the point to where I see where the important stuff really lies, and where a lot of the bullshit, where all these narratives are really taking over. And it's all telling me grow my own food and just focus on those that are very close to me. Focus on community, focus on community building, focus on friendships, happiness, focus on, the real important stuff, like the food and shelter and those like primary things: food, shelter, family, and togetherness, community, right? And good health. Health is so important. And if I can grow my own food, and it's not just going to save me a little bit of money in the grocery store, right? It's going to save me some money at the grocery store because we're going to supplement our income with herbs and spices that we grow.
Well, it's got to be healthier too, bro. You know what I mean?
It's more mineral dense. We're also not paying other industry taxes. We're not paying on shipping here and there. We're not paying so many taxes.
But let's just focus on the internal benefits. You were talking about the benefit of diet and how you made some changes in your diet and you started just feeling better overall. You're eating more meat and, you know, making better choices.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do a callback to prohibition. We were on there earlier and we were talking about stereotypes and things like that. As far as it comes right now with the outside stressors and negativity and things like that, try to just always be nice, man. It doesn't cost anything to be nice, but it can really be costly to be a fucking asshole or a jackass. Rarely does dealing with prickly people, becoming abrasive yourself, you know what I mean?
Man, a lot of people are real selfish these days. That's what I see it the most, when people are getting so upset because it's affecting them. It's like everything is so personal. And
I'm really, really lucky in that Daddy Skilbo has always been like a quiet dude. He's always been like my dad's cool as fuck, man. And his thing was that he worked in a factory for years. He was like head of the maintenance thing. And he used to have to deal with a lot of different people and shit. And he was like, listen, little Skilbo, all you got to do is just always try to be nice to people. And then even if they're not nice, just realize that after you walk away, you know, they're still not going to be nice, but you can choose to be. So shout out to Daddy Skilbo, always trying to give me the wisdom early when I was just a little whippersnapper, man.
It's about like what you want to give your energy to, right?
Exactly.
You want to hold on to your energy and use it for good. You don't want to waste it on focusing on
well, yeah, now that's a big one too, is you can get into a situation where you are, you know, you're making the right choices and you're really trying to push positivity and positive energy and things like that, and it's not reciprocal, and that can be like, oh man, you know, disheartening. But the thing is be nice because it's nice to be nice, not because you want to be rewarded for being nice, because then you don't feel like somebody owes you something, which is going to make you get ruffled feathers and prickly yourself and just add one more fucking log to the fire of our negativity shit bull going on, you know, like, fuck it, man. Smoke another joint.
Smile goes a long way.
Smile, Red.
Smiles go a long way.
Smile and dance.
I don't always smile as much as I should, usually because I'm in my own thoughts and stuff like that. And I'm not really like, sometimes I'll catch myself and I'll be like, oh man, I must look like I got a little bitch face going on here. I'm really just like looking at the ground and just kind of wheels are cranking on like, oh, I gotta paint the deck, I gotta, you know, mow the grass, I gotta pay this bill, I gotta do this. It's always just cranking of all the shit I gotta do, you know what I mean? So
you know how you talk to yourself matters though. So you're saying I need to do this, I need to do that. So those are undue pressures you're adding to yourself.
Yeah.
So what you say and said to yourself is, today I'd like to pay the bill for the truck. Today, I'd like to try to weed that back garden bed that's getting away from me. Today, I'd like to try to make sure that I get a chance to go shop so I can make my fiance something really, really delicious for dinner tonight, where we can get the meat from the store. We can pull veggies from the backyard. Look at, I got you smiling and leaning back. Okay.
You better make a spinach pie this week.
Spinach pie, is that his specialty?
Yeah, dude. I'm going to make it from everything out of the garden, too.
Scratching. Okay.
Except the phyllo dough.
Well, obviously, yeah.
And the feta.
The feta too.
All the greens.
Red, do you buy the feta and just, you know, like crush it up yourself? Or are you buying the pre-crumbled shit?
Yeah, I like the brick. I like brick feta.
Yeah, comes in the brine. Yeah.
It was like, man, any kind of cheese that comes in its own juice.
If it comes in brine, bro, it's a good one. We're gonna like it. Trust me.
Dude. That's the best kind. I love it. I love feta cheese.
Dude, my favorite gyro is like, take the gyro, add the red onion, tomato, feta. You got to throw feta on there, and then come through with the tzatziki sauce. Oof. That's fucking good shit right there, man. Prohibition says the moments we choose to be present in life can vary wildly or will get in our own ways. The way you tell yourself, like, think about it like this, man. You're like your point of view or your perspective on things is like a different prescription when you go to the optometrist. You know, better one, better two, three or four. So you can choose how to look at shit in your life. You do have that power. And if you want to view everything through a negative lens, you definitely are entitled to do that. But it comes at a cost, man, because you're always finding something to gripe about. You're always finding something to nitpick to death or try to self-gaslight, you know, sabotage. There's a DOG sighting above. I see the little tail wagging. Hey, buddy.
Get ready
for
around. Noises.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm going to shut up so you guys can get it in now before you start singing.
We can't look at him.
Do not look. It's like the basilisk. Don't look at him or you'll turn to stone.
Oh, don't like eye
It
contact.
seems like he's laying down. He can't hear
Okay.
us. So.
Don't go high pitches. High pitches create noises in return. So yeah. Don't encourage him, Red. Don't encourage him. Do we have anything else on this one that we like wanted to cover before we try to circle the wagons back, because we've gone pretty far afield?
I really like it.
I don't
It's
think
good
so.
to talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean my main points was because we had Independence Day come along, and because, you know, we talk about such taboo topics, and it's all the freedoms of these taboo topics are under a rug. You know, they're not really there. They don't really exist, you know. That's why they're taboo.
I can only tell you stories about myself. You know what I mean? So everything that I say is anecdotal, and I don't say that it's like a legal catch-all bullshit. I just say it because you don't hear much about it, man.
Well,
You don't.
I also want us to talk about it and get it out there. And what I want to say as our disclaimer is that it's all for the sake of harm reduction,
Yes.
so that we can discuss things like dosage and
coping strategies. So let's say that you do go off the deep end and you do end up taking too much. You know, I mean, I don't want to be the kind of show that says, well, you know, we just talk about microdosing here, and, you know, you're on your own, kid. Get back to us and report. No, I want to remind you.
I'd like to talk about my cousin who lost his liver because of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the main points. Definitely get back to that real fast. That type of you know, all of the because of the prohibition on these entheogenic plants, there's no education.
It's been a prohibition on real conversations.
Right. So there's a lot of false information and false drugs going around, and
old propaganda gets furthered.
Yeah, and young people end up trying to eat poisonous mushrooms, not understanding that there's poisonous mushrooms. So there are poisonous mushrooms. There are lookalikes also to psilocybes. So you don't want to just go willy-nilly foraging through the woods, picking what you think is a psilocybe species. My cousin did lose his liver when he was super young. He ate some mushrooms that somebody sold him. Nonetheless, there are poison species of mushrooms that will kill you, and that's basically what happened to him. He got someone else's liver. So I like to tell that story a lot. And without that liver, he wouldn't be alive today. What you job, that's for sure.
What you can also do if you are a wild forager is you can utilize a website like Reddit, and you can take a very clear picture of your mushrooms and you can post it on there under the appropriate subreddit, and you can ask for an identification, and people will let you know very, very quickly what you may be looking at and what you need to read up on more, or if you need to, you know, check something else on it. This is definitely a harm reduction show in the sense of, I feel like we have a really cool vehicle that we can utilize to try to drive ourselves back to the mental health that we really want to have. But we need to have the driver's training course before we just, blast off and jump behind the wheel on these things. And that's, kind of what Behind the Veil is. So, cheers.
Hillbilly makes an excellent point about how they're doing real work at Hopkins. And I mean, the work that Steve Dobbs has done in MAPS, I mean, is huge. He's multidisciplinary research, psychedelic studies, something like that. I mean, it is huge. They've done so many like real trials with, it's like Ibogaine that have like really gotten people off of opioids addictions and nicotine addictions. And I myself am one who can thank psychedelics for getting off of my nicotine addiction. I was very hard into nicotine for many, we'll just say many decades, a good couple decades. I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, just with groups of kids and friends, and would like only maybe smoke in the summertime because I was doing sports in the wintertime. And then after high school it became, regular. So ever since I was like 17, 18 years old, I was a regular.
We got time for one more?
I think we got time for one more.
Okay.
I got to tell this story. And it wasn't long before, maybe 6 years ago, before my birthday. I was just I haven't been able to like take a dose and like see colors and visuals and kaleidoscopes or any of that stuff. So let's say like I've taken like 150 mics, 200 mics, but like with a tolerance and like the period of time that I'm stretching that over, it's not really like I'm taking that much L25. I do the same with mushrooms. I could take like a couple grams throughout the day, but it's really not like taking a couple grams. So my tolerance is really high to these substances, but the effects that I get on them are very, very minuscule, very, very micronized, which I like. It keeps me out of the realms that I kind of got. I got hit with 2 doses of who knows what the hell research chemical substance
2CB
was. My guess is 25I. It was really hot at the time. A lot of people were overdosing on 25I. It was starting to like phase around and being passed off as acid at this time. Around the 2009, 2010 range. I took 2 doses of it. It was just melted my face off. And I mean, for me,
now, was it, you mean melted your face off as in like visually or like down the rabbit hole?
Visually, which turned down the rabbit hole. Like, because it was so visually like wild and crazy. Like, hard to explain. Not necessarily like the DMT kaleidoscopic. It was like very like.
Were you by yourself?
No, I was with a handful of people. We were trying to play cards. My hands were like just melting.
Oh, that's just asking for trouble. It's a bit much, man.
Cards were like everywhere. It was not happening. But like normally I would take a couple hits of acid and like real L25 and just be fine. Or at least.
What's your experience on high dosage of psilocybin? Have you felt like you've had a high dosage of it?
Yes. I've gone into a place where I couldn't get up and like was like pretty much stuck to a bed in a completely different realm. Like I was young at the time. I was like 18, 19. I was hanging out at a college dorm room in the west side of the state. I ate a cap that was like that. It was really chunky and meaty. And I swear if I could recall back, this dude called them Fijis or something back in the day. Who knows what they were, but he said they were lab grown. So they were
lab grown.
They were indoor grown. They were some dudes, mushroom lab or whatever, some tote grown. They at least I figure out they were indoor. Probably their word for indoor grown. Dude, they were chunky. They had gnarly, huge caps, and my guess is that their psilocybin content was a lot higher than the average mushroom. Well, anyway, we all kind of split a little, like half the bag between like 3 of us. I got a quarter. So we split we each ate like a gram. I probably ate 1.5 grams. A gram of it just being a cap and like a little bit of a stem. And I mean, melted me out. I went more into a dream place than I did into a colorful, kaleidoscopic type of a realm. Like I went into a place where I thought that I didn't even end up at my destination, which was
Were you on foot or were you like mobile at this point? You were at the house?
No,
you were at somebody else's house.
I was in a dorm.
Red.
In a dorm. Get this. No,
not your own either.
Dorm room. My car is down in a parking lot, right? I'm in a dorm room. My buddy leaves to go get beer as I'm kind of like, as it's kind of kicking on. About an hour after we take the shit, he goes to like go on a beer run. I go to the bathroom and like, you know, the walls are starting to do their thing. And I'm like, oh man, this is pretty heavy. And while I'm in the bathroom, it goes from, oh man, it's pretty heavy to like having, and I was probably only in the bathroom for maybe 10 minutes tops. I couldn't,
like 45.
It seemed like hours and days in that 10 minutes. And I couldn't pee. I started thinking that I didn't make it to the destination and that I really got into like, maybe I was in a car accident or something.
Oh, you're just making it so bad on yourself.
And I was like, this isn't the place. Just shit was just dissolving while I was in the bathroom. I'm actually having a flashback to it right now. Everything was, I was looking in the mirror and everything was just completely dissolving. Somebody else came in the bathroom and I like got the fuck out of there. And I went into my buddy's dorm room where I think I caught him in the hallway and he was telling me he was going to go on a beer run and for me to just hang out and he'll be back in like 15, 20 minutes. Well, at this time I'm in a dissolving state. I kind of want to go have a cigarette, but like nobody's there to like let me back in or anything.
Right. Now you're stuck outside.
I'm like, fuck. So I'm like sitting out with I'm sitting there with all of his dorm roommates and all these people I don't really know. And they're all like really, they're into video games, doing their stuff, which is, you know, I'm hanging out, I'm having a good time. We got some music going. But then they start like, oh, you're tripping. Oh, you're on mushrooms. Oh, this, that. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And they start like flicking stuff at me. They have like their keys on.
So whether you were tripping or not, it would have been an unpleasant experience that you wouldn't. It started being
a real unpleasant, weird experience. So I started having this like panic attack. It was a freak. I started having like a semi little freak out. And I was like, man, I think I just need to like kind of chill. And I was like, whoa. And the dudes were like, well, Reed will be back soon and you know, you'll be cool. So we're just gonna hang out for a little bit. And you know, da. So my homie comes back a little while later and I see him and he has eyes going all the way around his head. And I'm like, going to poke his eyes out, you know.
What the fuck, Red? Come on, bro.
Dude, I was like in a strange space, man. And I was like, and so he was like, you're gonna.
So there I was trying to gouge my friend's eyes out.
It was just trying to like poke out the other eyes, like not his real eyes.
Was he an arachnid or something? He had.
I was just trying to like show him his eyes. I was like, no, you have a bunch of eyes, man. And he was like, no, I don't. Like, you do.
You thought he was a biblical angel then, with just hundreds of eyes.
So I was like,
not afraid, young Red. I come in peace.
So he's like, well, we're gonna let you kind of hang out in the dorm room for a little while, do your thing, and
why don't you
we'll
just
check on you a little while. So I'm like, I get up to his like a lofted bed thing, right? I end up on the top bunk. Well, I end up on this top bunk for a good hour.
So there was in the nosebleed section.
He
having a panic attack.
He keeps coming in like, hey, you okay, man? And I'm like, yeah. So because he does this 2 or 3 times, we go down. He takes me out and have a cigarette. I'm cool, man. I'm cool.
Cheers, weed.
My balls off. Go back upstairs. Go back into this place because I'm back by myself, you know. And we do this like 2 or 3 times. I'm having these loops. So now I'm thinking I'm in purgatory because, well, what else is this?
Red is Constantine now.
Oh, in exactly 10 seconds, he's going to come through the door and we're going to go have a cigarette. This is going to keep happening. I'm in his dorm room and I'm looking around and I'm in my room. It was super bizarre, like my room at home in my spot. I'm pretty sure I was still living in my parents' house. I was commuting to and fro like Wayne State, living at my parents' house. And so I'm like having this kind of trip that I'm in their space, you know what I mean? So it was even more bizarre. Because now
definitely this was an issue of setting most of all, that this was not the right setting.
Wild, man. Totally wild. And I was in this like, I don't know if I dozed off for a little while because I had all this wild dream space type stuff happened. But definitely the continuous thought loop of the deja vu, because we would go outside and have a cigarette.
Yeah.
And he would like pop in and make sure I was okay. But every time I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm fine. I'm just
That's fucking great. We're good.
holding on for dear life.
I wasn't
I looked
just
down
fucking
from the
freaking
top
out.
bunk and it was just miles down. So I couldn't get down from the top bunk. I was stuck up there. I really wanted to get out. And finally it would like started to like wear off to where I'd like things were weird and trippy, but I was able to like get down,
Navigate.
my
Yeah.
bearings, navigate, wander out, go have a cigarette. We went and sat in my car, which was parked, never drove. And I was just, and then like at this time it was like 5, 6 in the morning, sun was kind of coming up, and I was like, whoa.
Whoa. The
That
Joey.
was wild. And I really thought about it. I was like, I'm really curious where my head was, because it was in so many places. Like my ego did dissolve. I really got into psychology after that. I had an experience the next day. I had to work at the skate park, and like some music came on, and it was the same song that was like setting in the trip. And so like the birds flew off, and I had this really weird like flashback experience. And then after that, I started kind of noticing more.
Synchronicities.
Yes, well, that's certainly that we should just
That's a whole other show.
So,
Yeah.
but like I certainly started noting like my perception started opening up. Let's just say that colors, lights, twinkles, brightness, like things I could just notice things a lot more. I became much more observant. And to today I'm like incredibly observant. I'm like hyper observant about my surroundings. I think that a lot of that is that product. But after that, I mean, I don't know to like, I kind of think I went to China when I was like 12 or 13 years old. And I'm like,
So fucking cool,
It was a
man.
really young age, you know what I mean? But it was at the age where I was young enough to remember it. And I saw a real third world country, like real sections of this, like people living in alleyways, poverty, shanty town,
Squalor.
entire thing, peeing, defecating in the streets, the entire nine. I was surrounded by it for an entire week when I was like 13 years old. And so I equate this experience to that, because I was young and I experienced this like ego dissolving, hyper aware, state of mind at such an early age. I really got into things like psychology. I really got into the mind. I got into more social interests and less. I was always very mechanically inclined,
Right.
but I became less mechanically motivated and more socially, politically motivated. I started really getting into cannabis, and getting into, then when I experienced L25 was when I started working for myself afterwards and got the idea to purchase DJ equipment, start making money doing that. And then I realized that, hey, I can buy a couple grow lights and buy a house, and rent out a couple of my rooms to a couple grow lights, and then have some patients that I can grow for and provide cannabis for people. And then I really got socially involved. And
I credit a lot of that to cannabis, because it
yeah,
really forces you. Well, I can't say that. Let's do a reference, in a blossoming cannabis community. It's really about plugging into it. And in order to do that, you have to learn to network with people. And,
absolutely.
you start to find out that most of the people that you're meeting are using cannabis medicinally, whether they know it or not. And, I think that for me, it went cannabis when I was really young, mushrooms when I was really young, but not quite as young. And with LSD, my first time with that was when I was 20. And I think that I found I used to be a really quiet person when I was younger. I wasn't the vivacious fucking personality that I am usually. But I found that as I've gotten older, I too have really gotten into the social sciences sort of things. And I don't mean that in like I want to sit back and armchair quarterback psychologize people, but it's being able to see myself in other people. So if I can see myself in other people, if I can put a human face to it, then I can learn to be more empathetic and understanding.
That the empathy really
Yeah.
kind of took over. I
Well,
really started.
that's that perspective shifting, is to be able to look at a situation that involves you and to be able to shift your perspective to the other person. That is like some serious conflict resolution shit right there.
My problem is I will take other people's conflicts and I'll put them into my, oh my God, what if that was me? You know what I mean? And I'll get that portion right there, as well as I'll walk in other, I'll put myself in other people's shoes often, and that, like, it fucks with me sometimes. I'm like, holy shit. I need to walk straighter, or I need to, do what I'm, straighten up my shit, because I've got, whatever going for me that I need to hold on to, or whatever.
I think that also what they do is, you were saying neuroplasticity. I'm going to say that it's like giving silica to you as like the plant. So silica can increase the distance of the size of the cell walls. It can beef things up. It can make things much more supple and less likely to break under strain. So I think psychedelics can also be
That's a
that for you.
resiliency.
Yeah, the ability to deal with drought and things like that. All the other silica properties as it goes to cannabis.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. And in moments of stress or high tension or pressure, I tend to take them a lot more calm nowadays than when when I'm, kind of like a regular regiment of whatever it might be. Right now it's usually L25, just because I have my own personal good stock, and then otherwise it would be supplementing that with psilocybin on a regular basis. And psilocybin for me would be, a gram a day, a couple grams a day.
You have to set your own schedule and your own regimen and your own dosage, whatever it may happen to be. But it's all about, going back again to it, is trying to use these things as tools to help you help yourself.
And I haven't noticed adverse effects when I take time off. You
mean the days off in between microdosing?
Yeah. I'll take days off in between microdosing. My breathing won't go away. Nothing crazy will happen. I won't get weird headaches or anything like that, except for this one weird time. But I really think this is just some shit. I bumped my head or some shit.
You hit your head a lot.
I hit my head a lot in the last couple of weeks, so it probably just has something to do with that. But there is I definitely feel more motivated, and just I get more shit done and things like that. It almost can act like a little bit of a performance enhancing. Like I'm not that crazy on coffee, and I've noticed that because like microdosing will enhance my energy, right? It enhances shit that's going on around you. If you're having a bad day, it might enhance that bad day. It allows me to kind of tread through my day to avoid overstimulating myself. You know what I mean? I won't drink coffee sometimes. I won't drink as much coffee because I know I'm going to overstimulate myself, or so in a way, like or like I won't go like into a situation that I know is going to have conflict or something like that for whatever reason. I'll stay out of it for the day, because where I otherwise would just be in a social setting or something like that. I'll just stay away from it. you know, and mind my own business, where I otherwise would be all over that forum, you know what I mean? And all in that forum. If I was just drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes or maybe drinking a cocktail, I'd be all up in that forum. But, you know, I'm just going to mind my own business with them. Or if I'm just sober, you know, sober me, just going to fucking be on edge for whatever reason, just cranky. Just no reason on edge. I'm kind of in pain, whatever. It's, you know,
Dude, that's you're singing my song. I used to work this one gig, and it was like a super early in the morning thing, and the boss was a super duper fucking dickhead, and the stress of it was like really shitty, but I really needed the money at the time. So I was working this fucking gig, and this is pre-card. So I had a script for Xanax. And I used to take a Xanax before I went to work every day just to turn everything down so that I could just kind of cruise through my shift. And, you know, like it was kind of like waterproofing for your boots. It was like all the fucking shit just kind of splattered off me. I didn't really talk much. I was just able to really super hyper focus. And it's so nice to be able to have gotten rid of that specific drug, Xanax, and not have to utilize it because, you know, there can be some pretty important side effects and things that can come along with that.
where I grew up, a very large population of the teenagers, the kids that would like be kind of, it probably more or less social scene that I was kind of around the skaters,
Yeah, man.
um,
You know, the skaters have always been cool.
yeah, I don't know
That's where I got into fucking weed and mushrooms and everything else is from skateboarding.
but like a lot of that. I don't know, like some of the other kids were just like, because I was in like the Wayne Westland area, you know, that we had a lot of people from Inkster, uh border areas of Detroit, stuff like that. There was a lot of just gang activity in my city. There was a lot of just random drugs in our school and shit like that. And when I got out of school, when I got out of high school, is when I recognized the amount of pills that were going around.
Oh, dude, working in the
And it wasn't so much in high school yet, but I'm afraid to see how bad the high school got after I got out of high school, because you know how much more prevalent opioid pills and shit like that got. After I got out of high school in 2003, and it was like between 2000, 2003, 2005.
yeah.
You know, there was a lot more of the whole.
Right. My kids graduated in like, you know, 2007, you know.
I started popping Vicodin in the early 2000s like it was candy. And then all of a sudden, you know, the addiction started occurring, and it took a good decade for it to catch up to us. But then the fentanyl took over, and all of a sudden we started losing all of our homies. I was real close.
I lost way too many friends.
I was real close to being hooked on like stupid shit like Norcos and Oxys and all that stupid shit, just because there was an easy supply for them.
Well, but the other side of it is like, my youngest daughter has Crohn's, and she's had 2 or 3 resectioning surgeries so far. She's still not 27, and it has adversely affected her life for 16 years now, probably. And the problem is that, you know, when you deal with Crohn's, you deal with flare-ups and inflammation and everything else and pain. So she has had to do this, you know, conga line to be able to get her medication. Sometimes she goes a few days without it. And, you know, it really, really sucks as a parent to have to sit there and watch your kid, you know, really, really go through the pain issues. And so the opposite side of the coin of that is that we have to admit that we have a true opioid problem in this country. It's not new, and it's not fucking going away. So the more people that we can have these kind of conversations with and offer them alternative therapies to something that they can look into, rather than having to go through all of that. And then, let's just do this. So it's a long-term pain situation, right? So eventually, because doctors cycle in, doctors cycle out, you finally get one that says, well, I'm not writing you a script for that anymore. Okay. So now what are you going to do? So then you're going to start trying to play these games, and you're going to come into the back door of this fucking society, and you are going to start trying to get your pills illicitly. And this is where testing your shit is so fucking important, man, because just because it's in a pill form doesn't mean you know what it is, doesn't mean anything at all. This is how we get into the fentanyl problems and everything else. So this is a really big fucking issue, man. And if you come at it from the other side, you're seeing all of us that use cannabis as our way to deal with our pain. That's my primary reason.
Company does not
Absolutely.
manufacture the pill press. The pill
Right.
press manufactures the pill press, and the pill press manufacturer probably backdoor sell them things or the plans to them to anybody, or somebody else can manufacture them just the same and sell them to anybody. So there's pill presses out there, there's other pill presses out there. And there are people with, whatever, like I saw it in chat where they were talking about isofentanyl. I assume they were talking about, because we were talking about fentanyl being prevalent now. It could even be on your mushrooms. Could not that it will, but it's a real thought. If you don't know your source or know what's on your source's scale or anything like that,
it's not worth fucking dying over. That's the thing that you have to think about. I know we just kind of glossed on it going by, but I have lost 10, 12 different people that have been very, very close to me, that I either grew up with, or that I went to school with, or I worked with, or I skated with, or I used to smoke down with. These are people that I know, and they're gone. And it's really fucking shitty, man. And this goes back as a callback to the other episode that we talked about, the static that you get for these testing kits. You know what? Fuck your laws. I'm going to test my shit. You're not going to stop me. I'm not going to roll the fucking dice on this. I've broken laws before, and I will break more laws in the future. That's one of them that is just fucking ridiculous, bro.
It's just like they want people to die, really.
Yeah, man. Like they're just trying to steer everybody into this like very fine chute of like, come buy your happiness and your pain relief and your everything else from us exclusively.
That
No,
shit's
man.
more expensive than weed.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait for food. Wait for the next one's food and the next one's water, right?
Well, they're saying right now that
water's already available in a bottle. Wait until
you remember the big ruckus that they made about Flint's water supply and how fucked up it is? The joke's on them. They found other places that are just as bad, and nationally they're starting to worry that like hey, you might not want to just take your water for granted.
You might just not want to just make fun of Flint because
fuck around and you'll be Flint.
Exactly.
Fuck around, you might already be Flint and laughing at the wrong side of your neck.
Yeah, you don't know what your own city's infrastructure is. You have no idea. Unless it's a brand new, utopia, which really.
But there are things that we can do, and there are things that we can control, and there are things that are beyond our
brand
our
new,
scope and the span.
Lifespan than anything old,
Right.
That's for damn sure.
But it's about trying to integrate these different practices into your practice. And being able to, hey, I appreciate it, Red and Becca, being able to have these conversations and shit, because like I said, there's a lot of people that are coming online every day that are looking for new information. People are very receptive to trying to do this, but let's not just, slap them on the ass and say, all right, have a good time.
Well, there are risks involved with everything. I'm talking literally from a decriminalized zone. My risk is my prosecutor would probably commend me for having this conversation and saying, hey man, I'm glad that you're openly talking about this and talking about things that are like dosage dependent and stuff like that, because our prosecutor wants to make sure that it's more about safety and it's more about increased mental health, because they understand. There's a whole group of people who run the cities and the county and everything.
I have several friends that work in the mental health field, and it's really disheartening, man. You know, you may think on the outside looking in that, oh man, you know, these people getting these services, you know, you can have a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes again about these sort of things. But I've come to understand that every single person that I meet, upwards and including every single one of you in chat and in replay, every single one of us has a mental health issue. It's just a matter of, are you aware of it and what degree you have it under control, or it has you under control. So instead of looking at it as like a weakness or a failure or letting it, you know, get you down or get you angry, realize that it's, you know, it's a chemical situation and we have chemical solutions, and we don't have to just use the same chemical solutions. But you got to try to keep a positive attitude, because that's what'll sink you in the long run, if you don't. So there you go.
We're soon to be working on having a little greenhouse, just something small. We're allowed 200 square feet without a permit. Shed.
Mm-hmm.
So I already have.
It ends up being like a 14. What was it? A 14 by something.
They don't say how many structures we're allowed to have in our yard, though. So I already have a 10 by. I have an 8 by 8, whatever. So
I don't know.
I could throw another structure
as long as they're not too close to the fence, whatever your zoning thing is, as far as, but it's not considered a permanent structure. So
a permanent structure. So I'm thinking like a
lot of people are building them on wheels, man.
Maybe a 15 by 20. 15, I don't know, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, go get a fucking small trailer, like an old boat trailer, and build that motherfucker on there.
A little
drag it around the yard
in a small chicken coop. Small greenhouse.
That's because Becca wants chickens and she wants to go out there and play and name them and all that shit.
I want eggs, man, because we grow dill and herbs, and that shit is delicious.
Ooh la la, it's fancy eating, right?
A couple eggs for lunch or dinner, breakfast.
I know. Are you gonna just let them free range around the backyard then and do their thing?
No, not really.
You don't trust them that much yet.
Well, we're going to put them in what's known as like a chicken tractor and just move them around while
it's like a puppy pen, right? And you just let them work that spot.
And just throughout the day we just move it around the yard while we're home. And then if
they can go over like the OG coop too, can't they?
Yeah, let's get through everything, kick over everything. And the idea is that if you leave them in one spot for too long, like let's say 24 hours, they'll turn it to mud. So you just want to continuously move it around. Otherwise, you put them in their chicken coop, which is mud and hay and shit like that.
And chicken shit.
Yeah, and chicken shit.
Keep it clean.
Cheers. Anything grows?
Use all of that. Compost it all, and then turn all of that into nutrients for our food, vegetable, medicine garden.
Ooh, man, my fucking compost pile is growing by the fucking day. I've been trying to tackle these. I have a really long horseshoe driveway, and all along it, there are nothing but fucking beautiful flowers and a whole shit ton of fucking weeds. So I've been pulling all the weeds out, and then I'm stacking them up in the middle of the woods. I've got this big pile and throwing sticks and shit in there, and I can't wait because I want to have some really good compost kicking around next year, man. Yeah,
just let it break down, and then next year just flip it. That bottom of that, just take all that soil.
Cheers, Weedist.
Take it all.
Thank you.
Use a good handful of that.
We've got some gnarly compost.
Yeah, man. And
I gotta find a source. I gotta find a local source for earthworm castings. Mine didn't make it through the transfer. So what I did is when I built all the soil for my outdoors, I took all of the fucking castings that I had and then included the cocoons that were in there and just fucking built my soil with them through my 12 outside, which to report back, so happy they're looking so nice. They're not huge, but they're healthy. So
I was walking around in the garden. Maybe it was yesterday, the other day. I don't know. Maybe it was the 4th of July. I don't know. And I was kind of
one of these days.
And I was just back there and I was eating. I was just like literally every little section of the garden, there's something that I'm able to right now pick and scavenge and forage.
Do you have any
Whether
berries coming in yet?
I have berries on my neighbor's tree. We just pulled raspberries.
I've been robbing my neighbor's tree. Just hold on, Rebecca. I got it.
I have
Oh,
not
is he reaching over the
I
top
have
of the
not
fence?
clipped this tree that's been hanging over my fence for a
Fucking
decade.
guy.
Letting it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Sure.
This year I've got
Harvest it, man.
mulberries off this tree. Every day I go over there and eat a handful of mulberries and thrips, and they are so delicious.
Mulberries
So
and
thrips.
thrips.
So many thrips. The way I look at it,
Cheers, KK.
I have this love-hate relationship with them. So if I just eat enough of them, they'll just leave me alone forever. And
You're gonna build up like rattlesnake toxin. You just to not be poisoned. You got to take a little bit of every day.
they'll just be like, oh,
In
give
your
a fuck, whatever.
presence, they're like,
Yeah.
Get away
I
from
think
me.
I watched that kung fu movie before where they became, assassins, and their way to get through the poison was to make sure they imbibed a small amount every day.
Yep, I just have to eat a little bit of them every day.
Okay, a little bit of aphids goes a long way.
We've gotten cucumbers already, peas. We've been eating greens. Tomatoes are forming, but this
Are
is
you
all,
getting saladed out yet?
mostly
or
from seed. Everything's from seed.
went hard on salad, man.
Yeah.
Are you
hard
guys getting burned out on it yet?
I'm just back there snacking on greens and whatever
Okay.
slug remnants are on our greens at the moment.
Do you have
we
any
don't do any
anthocyanins coming through right now?
Yeah, we have some fire red lettuce, which is nice and sweet. It's a real good lettuce.
I forgot to
A
try that
lot of
before.
a lot of this is bolted
in
and it's still
some
good
of-
and delicious.
It was in the salad that I made.
The salad was good as fuck.
All fresh greens in that salad, all out of our garden, all of our
Becca, I'm sad.
micronutrients of our yard.
I only have one rainbow cookie left, man. I'm sad.
They're tasty. Our stove is broke, or our oven is broken. I made those at my mom's.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
There that day, so I was able to make them with her oven.
Shout out to Mama Becca then. Right on.
When I look around, when I'm out and hanging out in my garden, and I look around and I see that there's a compost pile, and I see that there's weeds and grasses growing, and I know that there is a synergy going on in the roots of my thistles. That my thistles are actually
Sharp as a
moving.
thistle, clean as a whistle.
I know that my thistles are doing
the
all the
chimney
heavy
sweep.
lifting for me, right? When I look out at that permaculture garden and I see everything else doing all the heavy lifting, and I see money well spent because there's very little money. It was all reclaimed.
It's grass clippings and shit, bro.
Regenerated. I use a lot of trash from my neighbors, like trees and shit.
Do you
like
use
that.
like black leaf mold and shit? Have you fucked with that before?
I take my leaves from, well, I have mostly a maple tree. So it's mostly maple and lilac. They're my two main leaf producers, maple and
I have a couple of big ones. Yeah.
And I have this I have this weird, it's kind of like an elm, but it's not an elm. It has these really tiny leaves, but they grow like an elm. They grow like on a straight, I'm not sure what type of tree it is, but it has super tiny leaves that they drop super early. And I think it's the first to bud. It's the first to drop and first to bud every year. So it has a very, very early to late lifespan on the leaf. I don't know. That's just some random trees. I really want to chop some of the branches off and utilize it throughout the garden next year. But anyways, I'm looking out and around, and I can really just see, all the savings, right? All of the health benefits, everything that's going on in there, all the, the dirt under my fingernails. I don't really necessarily
The microbes, baby, the
I
microbes.
don't buy too many probiotics. We like to still use some probiotics, but I don't even know if we necessarily need them at this point because we're breathing and we're in this natural.
I can't wait until you hit your final form, which is like KNF. If you can hit your final form, Red, where you're like literally, because you're fucking with it a little bit, you're doing your like weird.
A lot of it is like a chop and drop where I just kind of allow it to naturally do its thing. See, I let a thistle
dandelion
full maturity
teas.
right before it seeds. I understand the cycle of the plant, right? Understand the weed. If a thistle's growing, yeah, it's gonna stab the shit out of you. So don't let a thistle grow in your pathway.
Wear gloves, man.
Right? And then wear gloves when you pull it. But if you let it grow to its full ability, it will flower. It'll bring in pollinators. If you let it go too long, it'll grow seed, and then you have another issue because now you have thistle seeds. But If you let it flower and you pull it right before it goes to seed,
It has
now
most energy.
you have this biomass you pull the root out. The root's a foot to 24 inches long, right? That thing's going deep into the soil, so it's mining very deep micronutrients you don't normally get at the top of the soil. So it's moving soil throughout its stalk and in its plant tissue. So if you take it out and you compost with it, that thistle will actually be good. Now, you want to caution with thistles because you just throw your thistle down, it might spread and propagate
like crazy.
now all of a sudden you're fucked. So you want to actually compost your thistles and let it all heat.
Do you know what I have a lot of, Red, that I want to figure out how to do it? Is if you know anything about having ferns in your yard, especially if you've had ferns in your yard for several decades, is they spread like crazy, and they're a great source of fucking green. Yeah, the biomass.
They really cool the soil. And what they're doing is what is that word? Cycling nutrients. There we go. And these things are cycling nutrients. So what's going on is this thistle, as it's growing, as it's what most people would look at as a weed, and this is why Mama Red and Daddy Red, they come over and I love them to death. And they'll come over and they'll, man, you really need to weed your garden and you have so many weeds. And I know I have so many weeds. I'm letting my weeds grow. And they'll come in and they'll really want to go pull. I'm like, no, leave the weeds, because they're cycling nutrients. What they're doing is they're bringing nutrients from really low on the ground and they're bringing them up so that the other plants can actually use them, because they're bringing them up through the
some of the things in your cover crop are nitrogen producing. They're able to pull it out of the atmosphere and make it available.
That as well. The clovers, there's lots of clover growing everywhere, and then there's other plants that are doing just that. But like the dandelions and the thistles have the deep tap roots. I like to keep some of those, and I will keep some stuff as a cover, like you said, a cover crop to keep the soil cool, because I'll see lots of beautiful gardens that have their soil exposed, and all of that exposed
all
soil
dried up and shit.
It's dry and there's no life really going on for the first inch, because it's all hot and they can't exist. Because now if you cover it even with hay, or I like to use grass clippings, and then what ends up happening is stuff ends up growing.
Cheers, Narwhal.
And just more things tend to grow there. And then I'll allow a whole bed of clover to exist, keeps the ground so cool. And if you want to plant something, just tear it away and move it away and plant something there.
So I'm not even cutting. I still haven't cut down the cover crop. The plants are like the same size as it now, which I really like it tall. I have used a fucking stick and just kind of like slash down on them to break the edge of them over the pot. And then they come back up every day, and it seems to be working out really well. But I've used it for like a really good water retention thing and shit.
Unless they were like for you're in a pot, right? So unless they were drying out your pot, I don't see why
they seem to hold moisture. Yeah.
There's this misconception that they're competing for nutrients. They're actually they're different species of plants, so they require different nutrients in the first place. Well, sort of, right? Throughout the day, they could, like lettuce pretty much only requires nitrogen. They don't, and some of the micronutrients.
Lots of fucking water.
Yeah, lots of water and all this other stuff. I say that with a grain of salt, because I know that it requires micronutrients. When I know that it's growing in my type of bed, and when I taste the lettuce, I know that it's mineral dense. It has everything, it's grown in this clay, and it's actually like, you don't taste clay or anything, but you just, for some reason, it just has a different crispness to it, and not just that it's fresh. Maybe it is that it's fresh, but you can really taste that it's not hydroponic. I don't know. The hydroponic.
Holy shit, we have been going for 2 hours and 3 minutes. I just happened to look up like, oh fuck, it's like midnight.
Grow your own food, people. Gain
your
own food sovereignty. Grow your own medicine. Gain your own medicine sovereignty. It's a big thing I wanted to get out.
What was the original topic for this evening? Since we didn't,
it was that it was a
did we just come across
food and medicine, and freedoms and stuff, something like that.
Freedoms and such.
I wanted to pay ode to Independence Day for that, and to say that we have a lot of to fight for the free of our minds, in the long way around, I suppose. For our own mental freedom, or for our own mental sovereignty, whatever you want to say.
There you go. I like it that way. Yeah. Mental sovereignty.
Mental sovereignty.
Which means, and there's kind of a pact to that. And the thing is as long as you don't try to legislate my consciousness, I will absolutely police my own behaviors, because that's really ultimately what I'm responsible for.
And that's what I'm saying. When I'm out there in that garden and I look around and I see all the medicine that I grew, the food that I grew, whether or not you can do this in a balcony or wherever you're at, just something small, have a small little pepper plant, tomato plant. That's a little bit, it's not necessarily so much that it's savings or that it's a cost thing, but it's a food security thing. It's an accomplishment. It's understanding that maybe next time it's something that's actually a protein for yourself. Maybe it's like a bean or something that you could reuse, or something that now you can ferment, or something that you can.
Man, I was thinking that martial artist was giving me like the ultimate compliment and calling me Red's better half, but no, that was Miss Becca. It's just I'm and Skilbo.
And
right on. Cheers, martial artist. I see you, man. I'm the et al, and others.
In my opinion, I think I look at all gardeners and I'm like, they're giving a big middle finger to the man, because right now I think one of the biggest control factors that the government has on the population right now is food supply, and they're holding on to it with a very, very, very strong grip. And they're really tightening down a lot of leverage on small farmers, and they're really, really making sure that food stays real cheap in the grocery store to some sort of extent. It's going to be real rough.
There's the benefit of also having your fingers in the dirt, doing the work, tilling it. The ability that, like, when you're working in the garden, you're just working in the garden. A lot of times you get so focused in the small intricacies in the garden that you'll find that inner voice shuts the fuck up for a little while. That's really nice.
You start looking at bugs, you start pulling roots and stuff, you start shaking off the dirt, you start focusing on other things. It is a very easy way to just quiet your mind, and it's therapy in its own.
It's the very Zen thing is like when walking, just walk. When cooking, just cook. Just focus on the intricacies of it.
I feel like even if I was in the middle of a city, especially if I was in the middle of a city, I'd probably dedicate one of my rooms.
The concrete jungle.
Yeah, dedicate a room to like an indoor jungle room or something. Have a cannabis plant in there, have some basil,
Have a Zafu and a Zabuton to fucking, like the Zen pillows and shit. Get you a little bit of Nag Champa. Maybe a couple of totes that you stack on top of each other in the closet that may or may not contain things fruiting.
A waterfall and a lizard.
Gotta have a waterfall, man. That's the very quintessence of the Zen we're looking for.
And yeah, so I mean, we do ride around and we see a lot of people with yards that are very empty, and I understand a lot of people are busy and we all have very busy lives, but I would ask, if you have a little bit of a plot of land, to go out there and give a big middle finger to the man. If you pay taxes and all this other stuff and you hate it and whatever, and you bitch about it all the time, grow some of your own food. It is like some of the most rewarding feeling that you can have. Once you eat some of that food,
that first BLT after you harvest your tomatoes can be really, really satisfying.
Some lettuce and stuff that you came out of your garden, and whether or not we can get into how you grow it later. I don't even care if you use Miracle Grow at this point. You know what I mean? We can talk about supply chain and who you support, but yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's just say grow some shit. I don't care.
Let's just say it's been a great show.
Fucking grow it.
Come through Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard over on the Michigan Bros Grow Show channel for the Bro Show Live. Come hang out with me, Red, Beck, and the rest of the gang. And then circle the wagons, come back through Monday night again at 11 p.m. for the late sesh.
We might not be there this Sunday.
Okay. There's the news.
The GC3
right on.
And that's kind of far away.
That's in Flint, Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah, I think it goes until 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Does it go till 10?
Okay.
I think it goes till 8.
Might go till
What day is that? That's next Sunday.
7:10.
Okay.
7, 10.
7:10.
Sunday.
You know what? That means that we are coming up on the holy shit, guys. I think it's going to be the third year.
Third year? Holy
Third
shit.
year
3
for
years?
the
Oh.
Bro Show Live. You know what? I got to do a hashtag for that. Hell yeah, man. What? You got a rubber stamp now?
You dig it.
It's so bougie. Here's your little gift bag.
Yeah, yeah.
Tra-la-la your way on out here.
Come see us again.
So, yeah, man. Thank you as always for hosting the show. I want to give a shout out to Prohibition, which comes on just before us over on the Prohibition channel with Uncle Rick and Prohibition. How many more times can I say that in a row? Come through next week and find out.
Make sure it's popping up behind you like Beetlejuice.
Night, guys.
Becca, anything else from you?
No.
All right. Guys, I really appreciate you all coming in, hanging out. Thank you all so much for all of the friendships and laughter. No, seriously. I really appreciate you.
He said no, seriously. Yeah.
No, it was a good conversation, man. We got through we pretty much did the around the bases like I wanted to. We talked
the way
about
we do, man. We don't really. I feel bad because they want us to come on and kind of like, hey, what's your next show going to be about? And it's like, it's going to be about psychedelics, and I don't know where it's going to go and how it's going to get there. We're going to have a cool title, and we'll cross the topic at some point, but not to be limited.
Oh, Mama Red told me to finish the story that I was telling the other night, so I'll have to do that at some point. When I was telling the story about the whippets in the car.
Oh, yes. She wanted you to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, never.
Is she like glued to the chair in suspense, or does she already know?
She knows the story. She had to fucking wake up in the middle of the night to fucking sheriff going.
Come through next week for Behind the Veil. Behind the Ass Whipping is what that one's going to be.
Yeah, it was Behind the Ass Whipping. Yeah, so the whippets that were involved.
Yeah, those were whippets, all right. Behind the whipping.
All right. The driver passed out. We almost went through a house. We hit a telephone pole. Car kicked in reverse, got parallel parked between a couple of trees somehow. It was really.
Save it for the next show so we can get more fucking mileage out of these Uncle Rick-esque stories of yours.
Oh my goodness. All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.
Later on.
Bye.